Speed camera ahead.
Hi guys, so I thought I'd just give you a bit of an overview. I'm just on my way to go and see another car. As you probably know from my channel, I've just wrapped up the Stag, although I probably need to do a final video about that. But the Stag is on the road and beautifully running, and done nearly 300 miles on it now. So the next car is on my hit list because it's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to do any welding, so I'm feeling a bit antsy. So I'm going to see a Rover P5B up in Stone on the M6. I saw it pop up on Facebook, and it's quite an interesting one. I'm not quite sure what to expect, so I'm going to film it when I get there and let you guys have a look. It's a non-runner at the moment, although I'm told the engine does turn over and has fired, but they think the fuel is very stale. It's with a dealer. They've just taken it in, and they will let me potentially buy it before they do any work on it. It's definitely got some work to be done, some welding, rust, I think, in the sills, possibly sill replacement. And I know with the Rover P5B Coupe, which is what this is, that they do tend to rust from the inside out. So it's one of those where even if they look relatively strong underneath, you can still find a lot of problems when you get into the sort of complex inner panels. But you know, hey, that's what we do this for, isn't it? So it's quite an unusual car. It's not. It's had a rather interesting modification a few years ago now, back in the 90s.
Use the left lane to take exit 15 towards Stoke.
So it's had the Rover V8 engine that's in it bored out to 4.4 litres apparently, and that was done a number of years ago. So obviously it ran for a number of years with this engine, so not quite sure what to expect as far as that's concerned. But it's also sporting a set of Jensen alloys, which you know, obviously to the purists will be sacrilege, but you know, I quite fancy a Jensen Inceptor. It's another one on my hit list, so maybe this is a good introduction to it. So when I get there, I'll break out the camera and show you what I'm looking at, and just give you guys a bit of a preview. And if I like it, then I'm going to be picking it up on the trailer, having done a deal today. Anyway, I better go because I'm being told what to do by my sat nav. See you in a bit. Okay guys, I've just arrived, and so I'm going to turn the camera around in a second, let you have a look at this Rover P5, and yeah, let's have a little walk around. So, interesting number plate, that's a good start. I know that you kind of tip of the iceberg with stuff like that. It's obviously been sat around for a bit of greenery going on here. Yeah, definitely got some sill work to do, possibly replacing the sills will be essential on this. But it looks to be fairly complete with the various bits of chrome and badges and stuff all seem to be in place. Again, a bit more there. Got the slightly damp smelling interior. You've got the old leather seats. Most of the seats don't look too bad. You've got a torn one on the back, but mainly it's stitching, and I think that panel could be replaced. Obviously that centre console bit there needs looking at. All the door cappings are a bit worse for wear, but I think I've seen those being sold online. Okay, I'm looking around the bottom here, isn't it? Not too bad, although it's difficult to see until you get the upholstery out of the way, but it's not rotting through there. damp in here, so it's obviously leaking in from somewhere. Okay guys, so it's the day after. I went to go and see the Rover P5B coupe yesterday, or I can't remember what the registration is. It's XMV801, I think, or XMV801. So I think that's right. Anyway, it's the next morning and I'm just driving back, having just picked up the car. So there it is on the trailer on behind us. Heading back to the temporary storage where I'm going to keep the car over the summer and maybe just remove some bits and pieces off it, get the carpets and the interior out, and basically decide what's going to be worth keeping and what's not. But the car starts and drives. It's it's been on the road until a couple of years ago, so that's I think a positive. And that V8 is quite an impressive lump that's had an awful lot of money spent on it. So being bought out to 4.5 litres, and I mean, this was done in the 90s, so it's been in the car since then, so it obviously works. And it would have had liners fitted in order to achieve that. So yeah, it's got one of the front wings is fiberglass, so I'm going to make sure I correct that. And then it's really a number of other things that need doing, possibly a little bit of welding on the sills. My son is in the car with me and he's laughing, so that means you have to be on camera, Charlie. No. What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at? Am I not a cool YouTuber? Honestly. So anyway, on our way back to drop the car off and then start doing some updates as soon as we get our teeth into it. Hey guys, so just to finish the initial update on the Rover, or the introduction to the Rover. I've got her back and I'm just at a friend's barn where she's going to rest up for a bit, and I've got a few more jobs to do on the Stag, and because the sun is out sometimes, I'm making the most of the weather and enjoying the Stag for a few weeks. So the Rover will probably be languishing here for a while, but it's dry, it can dry out. I've taken out the boot carpets. I'm going to be taking out the rest of the interior carpets, making sure that everything's, any damp or anything like that is dealt with. So, but in the meantime, here's a bit of an introduction close-up video. So if we start from the front, actually pretty good. I mean, the chrome's good, and certainly will clean up well without having to be re-chromed, I think. So I would say most of the chrome, headlights, etc. look pretty solid. Got a little patch of rust here, which I suspect will probably have blown through. So there'll be some sort of repair there. Maybe worst case scenario, it may need a wing, although the wings on this are bolt off, so I can get into the wing to do some repair work if needs be. I mean, overall the paintwork's pretty chonky, to be honest. It's not great. This wing I actually thought was fiberglass because of this sort of crazing. It looked like it might be, but actually with further investigation, that is a standard steel wing. I think it may have had some repair work done in the past, and there's a few little things that suggest that possibly this car had a smack on the corner back in the 90s. It was recorded as a write-off. Now, of course, back in the 90s, these cars were selling for probably a few £100 to banger racers, even a reasonable one. So I suspect it will probably had a little some damage there, and you can see the colour difference between the top and the bottom of the wing. So I would say it's definitely had a respray there. And looking at the front here, we've got a little dent here. This looks like a new light. This looks like a new surround. I would think possibly that's what's happened. It's had a bit of corner damage, which was enough to write the car off, but not enough to do any real damage. So that's that. I've got a bit of rust issue going on under here. Got a hole in the sill. A bit more corrosion along there. Whether the sills need replacing, I don't know yet. Obviously I won't know until I start really sort of getting into it, get the doors off, get the carpets out and trim. So just continuing, I've got to help move a horse trailer, so that's done. So yeah, so obviously all the rubber seals have gone. So I know that both windows are going to have to be, both windscreens are going to have to be removed, front and back. This one's particularly bad. I've left the boot open just to get a bit of damp out, because it's obviously where it's been set outside in the rain at some point. But I mean, you've got a patch there which I need to investigate, but I'm not seeing a huge amount of rot from what I can see at the moment. But again, it's only kind of looking at the surface of it at the moment, but you can see the whole of the inside of the car had been wax oiled at some point, so I think that's obviously given it a bit of protection, and I can already feel that that's drying out nicely, so leave that open. Rear chrome's a bit worse for wear, but we might try some tin foil on that and see how it comes up. The rear chrome here and the handles, but all the badges are there, they look all right. And again, I'll have these re-chromed if I need to, but they look like they'll come up all right. And the side pieces, filler cap. I know that removing this screen's a bit of a job. It involves basically removing all of this and the frame and actually getting inside, I think, and unbolting the frame. I need to do my research on that. But yeah, so the trim's not looking too bad. You know, it's all reusable. It's a few blemishes, but I mean, that's all stainless, I guess, not chrome, so so it's lasted well. Doors at the moment, you know, they look all right, but I know that the bottoms are going to need some attention. So yeah, so you know, it has work that is needed, and I know that these little bits here can be a sign of worse to come, so I'm going into that with my eyes open. But compared to some I've seen, I'm not seeing much in the way of bubbling up. And again, the paintwork, actually that's just probably polish residue. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if we cut the paint what it would look like, but I suspect it's going to need a respray, and I quite fancy doing something a bit different on the colour. I love the wheels. I know that it's a Marmite thing, and they're obviously not original, they're Jensen alloys, but I'm kind of in the mind of doing a slight, I mean, this car went through a huge program of engine work and mechanical work in the late 90s, boring out an SD1 engine to 4.5 or 4.6, I think it is, or 4.5 litres. You know, the engine runs, it needs a bit of attention. I think it's got stale fuel as well, but there's a lot of fettling to be done. But I mean, the engine oil pressure went straight up to 30 psi when I started the engine. So I think it's, you know, it's languished for a while, but it was driving a couple of years ago. This side, the sills don't look so bad, and the jacking points appear to be intact. And I've looked at the spring hangers at the back. In fact, I might put it up on the lift over there in a bit and have a proper look at it underneath. But what I'll do is I'll just going to do the stag. Stag's here for a bit of a Lano guard, and I'm doing a bit more under sealing just before I commit it to the road properly. So I'm going to get that up on the lift, move the Land Rover out of the way, and get the Lano guard on it, and yeah, get that a good clean up and make sure I give it every chance of not rusting. So and then once I've done that, I'll put this up on the lift and then come back to you guys with a bit more of an update. Right, let's try that again. So up on the ramp, let's start having a look around here. So I've got the torch, trusty torch in hand. Okay, so we seem to be a bit smudgy. Better. It's a bit better. So yeah, so the obviously you'd expect to see stuff like that, all the rubber mounts for the rear spring hanger are all perished, but the actual spring hanger itself, the chassis around it, all seems pretty reasonable. I think that's meant to be there, it's a drain hole. I mean, obviously there's a lot of surface rust. Generally, chassis seems pretty sound. You've got the spare wheel tray, which is normally rotted. This one actually looks reasonable, even a spare wheel in there. Same on this side. Obviously there's a bit of jollop coming out of there. But generally not too bad. The wheel arches at the rear. Again, I'm not seeing anything disastrous going on. It's quite a complex beast, isn't it? Got all those different panels up there. But again, I'm not seeing any sort of signs of real problems up there. Rear axle, obviously, I almost feel a bit scared going underneath this fucking thing, but anyway. So chassis wise, outriggers seem, there's some scaly rust there. It's a bit bulgy in places. I'm all right with that. Cross member there, looks all right. This gearbox was out and reconditioned back in 2016, so still looks like it hasn't done a lot of use. So we've got various bits and pieces under here. I've got no idea what all these are, but it's going to be fuel systems. Then you've also got, I think, the heater. So this is the rear heater for the passengers with the heater hoses, and the back of the motor, which goes up into the cabin. On this side, the sill actually doesn't look too bad. It's got a bit of surface rust, but is that supposed to be there? But yeah, where it joins to here. Again, just lots of under seal and everything, but underneath that, it all seems pretty solid. We've got a hole up there. I'm guessing isn't supposed to be there. But again, the rest of the arch doesn't look too bad, and we can unbolt the wing on this, which is quite useful. So we can actually get the wing off to have a look at it. We have got a little hole here, and that does feel quite crusty there. So possibly the inner wing on this thing, or this front section of it, isn't too clever. It goes back a bit further. It seems to be getting quite solid there. So yeah, so maybe we need to make up a patch on this bit here. But further along, it's got little bits of holes, but I don't know whether it's going to need replacing. Oh, that doesn't look great, does it? So that's the rear jack mount, which is currently suspending the car, so I'm not going to be spending too much time under this. As you can see, that is not looking its best, but that's fairly localized, I think. Okay, so let's move across the other side, because that's where it really gets fun. So we knew there was a hole here, and yeah, as with all these things, it's probably the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, lovely, nice. Oh, look at that. Yeah, oh, baby. Lots of rust. So this is going to be the side, I think, where a new sill, possibly inner and outer, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Looking at the inner, yeah, it's gone through there as well. Yeah, that's pretty crusty. All of that's pretty crusty. That's looking pretty crusty. Yeah, crusty all along. It's just falling apart. Okay, so solid at the back. So it's the sort of front section going to that outrigger or cross member there. Looking decidedly
toasty. And then that continues along here. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's all gone there. And all of that's gone. Even the bump, even the jacking point there, you can actually see it moving. Oh, there you go. That's probably roughly where it's supposed to be. I tried to lift it up with that initially and it just went straight up into the car. So yeah, that's all broken away there. So sills are the main thing from what I can see. Wheel arches look okay, but until we get a bit further in, we're not really going to know on that. But I'm looking up there. Again, you can take this wing off and unbolt it, so I probably will do that just to check further back in. But the chassis and surprisingly things like the boot floor look pretty good. The wheel arches look okay. Yeah, let's get into there. Okay, yeah, I've got a lot of peeling off under seal, but actually beneath that it's done its job and I don't think it's too bad. I'm sure we'll find some nasties in there though. So yeah, so okay, well, to be expected. Certainly going to need some welding and quite a bit of it. Various brake bits here. I'm not sure whether they did anything with the brakes other than standard. I don't know what that says on it. I'm not sure which brakes those are, but what does it say? Does it have anything on it? No, I can read. But most of the running gear looks like it just needs a good scrub up and clean up. That's what's going on in the engine bay. Obviously we've got all the work that was done in here, braided pipes fitted, twin oil coolers apparently, although I'm not quite sure how that's all set up. But you've got one there and one there. So you've got twin oil coolers. So yeah, so I'm gonna get all of that looked into. Let's look at that cavernous freaking wing up there. A bit of that underseal's peeled away there. Again, until I get all that off, I'm not going to really know, but I don't think it's too bad behind that. There you go. So, yeah, it begins. Not quite sure where yet. I've got to make a decision, but obviously I want to get the interior out, strip the doors off it. Obviously we're going to have to brace it to do the sills. Or certainly some sort of bracing will be needed to do them right, although obviously with having a chassis as it does, it's less of a concern. Because those Jensen alloys, I do love them. Sorry if you don't. But other than that, the body panels themselves look relatively straight. So, all worth doing. And then obviously you need to sort something out for the bumper at the back. Right, I'm going to take this thing off the lift before it falls off it. See you later.